Record video.
Hi guys, it's Teabooksgirl and I'm here to talk about City of Bones. So I stayed up till 5 finishing this on Tuesday night, which turned into Wednesday morning. So that kind of gives you a sense of how I felt overall about the book. The pacing was really good. It kept me interested pretty much the whole time, and especially close to the end when we started to figure more stuff out, it was really hard to put down, so I just pushed through and finished it. So today I think I'm going to start by talking about just some things I liked and some highlights of stuff that I enjoyed reading, whether it's plot or characters, and then I'll talk about some things I didn't like, and I'll talk about the ending, which my thoughts are still kind of conflicted on. So I really liked the whole world. I loved all the parts where they would go. Like, I really liked even the first chapter when Clary and Simon went to Pandemonium, and it was just like describing all the different like people there. In a lot of them were mundanes, but they were like really interesting, and it just described the whole scenery. I thought she did a great job of that. And then when we first met Jace and Alec and Isabel, they're like, just how it showed them like chasing the demon and Clary was freaking out. I really enjoyed that whole part, and I thought it was a really good idea of getting us into the world. I also really liked one of my favorite parts of the whole book was the vampire part, where, well, I mean, the whole part where they go to the party of Magnus Bane's party, and it just, all these fairies and warlocks and different downworlders are there. I really enjoyed that whole scene. And then when Simon got turned into a rat, like, I think that's a hilarious and terrible thing to have happen to you, but the whole adventure with that, I loved when they went to the hotel and they were like in the alley and it was all dark and creepy and they were trying to find a way in, and then they met with Raphael, who turned out to be a vampire, and that whole adventure. And then when the werewolves come in and it's like this crazy battle between vampires and werewolves, I have to say this is really the first book I've read that even has vampires and werewolves, and I always have been kind of cynical of stuff like that, but I really enjoy the way Cassandra Clare does it, especially like again when we meet up with Luke and his werewolf pack when he like saves Clary in the alley from Hodge. I just really enjoyed that, and I was really sad when his second and third in command both got killed in the battle. That made me really depressed. So now I think I'll talk a little bit more about characters. With this book, I really liked Clary as a main character. Sometimes what happens to me in young adult books is that I sometimes have a hard time connecting with the main character. I sometimes feel like the author either gives them a really dark, brooding past and like personality that is hard for me to relate to since I have a pretty happy life, or just makes them kind of shallow or like one-dimensional and not very interesting. But I felt like Clary, I don't know, she felt like someone I could actually relate to, like this 15-year-old girl that likes to draw and cracks jokes and has a good friend. And I don't know, she seemed like a real person to me, and she seemed pretty well-rounded, and I liked the way she handled herself for the most part with figuring out everything and just being thrust into this new world. But I also liked the fact that she wasn't super good at everything. Like, she wasn't really a fighter. I mean, she'd never been trained at anything. She wasn't just like this crazy knife thrower, knocking people out, killing demons person. She was kind of there and kind of trying to figure it out, and a lot of times she had to be protected and saved by other people, and I thought that was very realistic, and I liked it. But I'm also really excited to see where the next books take her, and where she gets, like, if she gets further training, or I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen next. But I also liked that she was resourceful. I liked, like, when she was in the library and Hodge had put her in that invisible wall thing, and she remembered, oh, I have the Stell, and she knew what rune to use, and so she got herself out of that situation. So I think she's a good balance of not being too, like, great at everything, but also not just being, like, whiny and not, like, completely incompetent. So I thought she was a good balance of that. And then, of course, there's Jace, and I sort of don't know how I feel about him. Obviously, I really like his comments throughout the book, and I like how when they're in dangerous situations, he'll still like crack a joke or something. And he definitely is very interesting to read about, and he's definitely very like handsome, and you know, if you're a girl, it's fun to read about him. But I don't know, I think some of his recklessness is going to get him in trouble. Like, I mean, it already has, but I feel like it will continue to. And then there's the Lightwoods. I really like Isabel. I hope we get to know her more, because I felt like I didn't really get to know her that much in this one, but I liked her personality, and I liked how she wasn't super nice to everyone, and she sort of wasn't sure how to feel about Clary at first, but now they sort of ended it on a good note. And I really hope they become better friends, but I would really like to get to know her more. And I also really like Simon. I think he was pretty amazing, like the way he handled all this new stuff. And he's very supportive of Clary, and he's just like a really good friend. I also felt really bad for him in this book, especially the big emotional scene when he came out of her room and she was kissing Jace, and there was a bunch of conflict, and then he admitted to her that he's like been in love with her for 10 years, and I hated the times where like Clary would be like, oh, Simon's here, I forgot about him, even though he's very resourceful and has helped them out of a lot of situations. So I hope that their friendship continues to be a good one, and I hope that he plays a role in the series because I really like him. The main character that got me the most annoyed in this book was Alec, because I felt like he was just really grumpy and moody and not enjoyable to read about for most of the book. And I understand why, and I understand that he wants Jace to be safe, but he was a little bit unreasonable at times, and like when he confronted Clary, like I felt like that was really out of hand, because a lot of what he said, I mean, in some ways it's true, Jace does do more things and is more risky because of Clary, but a lot of that stuff he would do anyway, and I mean, he's a shadow hunter, so he's going to be in dangerous situations no matter what. So I thought that was really unreasonable and annoying, and I was just annoyed at him for most of the book. But then he was about to die, and I didn't want him to die because Jace, I mean, he's like one of Jace's best friends that he's known since he was 10. But I'm glad that at the end of the book, he sort of reconciled with Clary and sort of is taking steps. Like, it seems like he's taking steps and trying to grow as a person. So I'm looking forward to that. So basically with all the characters, I'm just really looking forward to the character development that they have. And then, yeah, I think the main thing I didn't like about this book, like I sort of mentioned in my other review, my short review, it was just I didn't like how unresolved the ending was. I mean, we got a lot of answers, and we know where, like, all of Claire's background now. We understand what happened with Jocelyn and Valentine and all that crazy stuff. But it was just so unsatisfying and frustrating when they were all there and, like, Luke had the sword at his throat, and then he got away and he got through the portal and he has the cup. So, like, he's definitely, they're going to have to deal with him in the next books. And I mean, that's good. You got to have conflict. But I just would have liked to see a little bit more resolution or see them accomplish a little bit more in the first book so that I don't have to be so stressed out going into the second one. And now we should probably talk about the ending and what I found out about Clary and Jace being siblings, which, I mean, okay, my whole process going through this was like really up and down, because like when Luke told his story, I just was really, really depressed. Like when I found out she had an older brother and that we thought Valentine killed him, and I was like so depressed. Like, how could anyone do that? That's terrible. But then I was like, wow, I mean, I was just really depressed. And then we get to the next part, and she goes to the house, and Jace is like, my father's here. And at first I did sort of think Valentine was like making stuff up. Part of me probably just didn't want to believe it, because after they kissed and stuff, like, that's just really frustrating. And now they're gonna have to learn how to be brother and sister, which I don't know where that's gonna lead, but I hope that, like, I mean, I just really sympathize for Jace. I mean, because he had to go through such a roller coaster of emotions. He thought his father was dead, then he found out he was alive, then he had to reconcile that his father was evil and that Clary was his sister, and that's just a lot to handle for anyone. And so I don't know. I feel like a lot of things are going to happen in this next book, and I don't really know what to predict, but I hope that stuff is going to work out, and I really hope that these characters get closer together and form a bond, and I really hope that Clary's mom wakes up soon, or at least sort of soon, but I'm not really keeping my hopes up for that, because that seems like it's going to be a plot point for the second one, or maybe even later in the series. So I would love to know what you guys think. You can definitely comment, or you can follow me on Twitter at Teabooksgirl. That's just TeaBooksgirl, all one word. Or you can find me on Facebook under Emmy Lowe. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you soon. Bye.